Hello there. This is Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. My name is John Scholes, simply the host, lawyer always, Lior Samfiru from EmploymentLawyer.ca. Feel free. In fact, we encourage you to reach out anytime with any question. Nothing's too small, too big, too stupid, too silly. Just ask the questions, get the proper answers right off the hop. That number, 1-855-821-5900. Email is ask@employmentlawyer.ca. Any other concerns? The website is called pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Once you're there, you can research a lot of the things we talk about on the show, plus have access to the severance calculator. Over 2 million Canadians have taken that out for a spin. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Phone calls coming up, questions, emails, and of course the main topic this week is going to be rights of employees when they're ill or injured. We'll get to that in the second segment, so stick around for that. In the meantime, Lior, you always get us warmed up with the week that was, pal. There he is. What have you got for us this week?
Employment law. I think we'll do that this week again. We'll save the discussion of other topics for another time, because this topic still is the most important. It's probably the most important half hour of TV you're going to watch this week, because you have a job. And when you have a job, you have rights. And it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows at work. You may have issues. There may be problems that come up, issues with your employer, issues with your job, maybe financial issues that the company is going through. And you need to understand, what does that mean for you if you lose your job? Maybe you're not being treated properly, or maybe you're concerned that the job that you had is going to change. You're going to be told to work in office instead of working from home, or your hours are going to be different. In all those situations and so much more, the law comes in and says, yeah, you have rights. There are things that you can do, and there are things that your employer cannot do. And on this show, we tell you what those are. We help you understand those rights in the simplest way possible. So you will learn a lot, and you will arm yourself with that knowledge, so that if something happens to you, your friends, your neighbors, you'll be able to tell them, hey, there's options, you need to reach out. And of course, to connect with me and my team, we'll give you that contact information throughout the show. If you ever need us to roll up our sleeves and get to work for you, we're here, we're ready to do that. But now that we know what we want to do, let's go ahead and do it. Let me talk about case of the day, and I think I'll call this cases of the day. I've been contacted by many people working for large financial institutions over the past few weeks, frankly. I'm not going to name any names, but if you think about their names, you'll know who they are. Large financial institutions, because those employers now are making significant changes, significant cuts. A lot of people are being let go. And I can tell you, in most of those cases, almost all of those cases, when these individuals contacted me, their severance offers were not adequate. And when I told them that, they were very surprised. They assumed that because they were working for a large financial institution, they have HR people, they have legal resources, that, well, they must be providing proper severance. They must know how much severance I'm owed. Well, no, not at all. There's just as much likelihood that you are offered bad severance, improper and insufficient severance, whether you work for a large major company like a financial institution or a very small employer. Either way, there's still that same 90% chance that severance that you've been offered is not even close. So it really did strike me that, number one, those offers were not good, and number two, people were surprised, were dumbfounded to learn that. So if you lost your job, whether you're one of those many people, thousands of people that have lost their jobs from one of the financial institutions, we need to talk. We need to talk before you sign off on that severance offer. Chances are you're owed much more than what you've been offered. And of course, the same applies to any employer that you've worked for. If you lost your job, please, 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 before you sign off on that offer that's not adequate, let's talk. We can resolve it. It's not difficult. We can provide that help so that you don't leave your employment with less than what you're owed.
And thank you for that, Lior. We move on to the first viewer phone call of the show. Listen up, here it comes.
He's worked for like a major retailer as a senior manager for about 25 years now. A complaint was lodged, and there was an investigation regarding some customer complaints over a policy. It was over a return, by the way. As a manager, he has the right to refuse a return. And they came back and said, okay, we suspended you, and then investigated and came back and they fired him for cause. And what they gave him as a compensation is 16 weeks of a severance pay.
Wow.
So obviously it's difficult to know based on that call what actually happened here. Did the employee do something wrong? Is the customer wrong? Is there something else going on? But let's look at it from the employer's best case. Let's assume that, yes, the employee did something wrong. The employee breached the policy. They didn't handle a return properly. Let's assume that. Well, the fact that that happened does not mean, absolutely does not mean, that the employer has just cause to terminate the employee. To terminate for cause, in other words, without having to pay full severance, the employer would have to show that what the employee did was so bad, so outrageous, that you just can't employ them anymore. And one instance of breaching a policy or doing something wrong is just not enough. And I see this all the time, John. An employee doing something wrong, the employer says, aha, you did something wrong. We're not going to pay you your full severance. We're going to let you go for cause. No, can't do that. That's a wrongful dismissal. So it is very, very likely, John, that in this scenario, this employee is entitled to full severance. So our last thing that we need to do right now is calculate how much severance this person is owed. We're going to use for the first time today the severance calculator tool. You'll find that, of course, for free at PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. Again, let's use that right now and let's see what we get. So a senior manager at the age of 59 with 25 years of service, that's a long time. Company said that will give you nominal 16 weeks severance. You see right there, this person is owed 24 months severance. That's a difference of almost $200,000 for this person, okay? 24 months. So remember, very difficult to terminate for cause, very difficult. And of course, to find out how much severance you're owed, the real amount, just check out the severance calculator at PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca.
And with that, we got to get into a short break, folks, but stick around, Major, and our main topic, rather, for the day is coming up after a break, and that is rights for employees when they're ill or injured. That's on the other side, so stay with us as we continue. More Ask a Lawyer here on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
And welcome back to Ask a Lawyer on CP24. John Scholes, Lior Samfiru. We're here each week. How do you reach out to Lior? The phone call, the email, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Use that QR code as well. It is that time of the show where we get to the main topic, rights for employees if they're ill or injured. I'll get right into it, Lior. First one, you can take a medical leave and use disability benefits if you cannot work, right?
So remember, it's not up to your employer to decide if you get a leave of absence. It's up to you and your doctor. If you cannot work, you can take a medical leave of absence that does not have a time limit on it. You can be off as long as you need to if you have your doctor's support, to be off work, to get better, to heal, and without having to work. You need that doctor's note, and that means you're going to be off work. Now, that also would trigger disability benefits. If you have a disability plan through your work, that is the plan that comes in to pay you while the company is not paying you, while you're not working. And that could potentially pay you till the age of 65 if you need it. So in both respects, I want you to remember, if your employer is giving you a hard time about going off on a leave, they're not believing you, they're asking for your personal private medical information, they're doubting your doctor, call us. We'll get the company to do what they're supposed to. And the second aspect of that is if the insurance company that's supposed to pay you those disability benefits, if they don't want to pay you, they deny, they cut off, they ask you for unreasonable information. We have a whole team dealing just with those individuals. So please call us as well. We can help so that you can be off work and get paid during that time.
Lior, our second point for this topic is if you need accommodation to return to work, your employer must provide it, yeah?
So this duty to accommodate under our human rights laws, probably one of the most important obligations that an employer has. And this duty tells the employer that if the employee can work, but they need some support for medical reasons, maybe they need modified hours or modified duties, maybe they need the ability to work from home, and that doctor supports it, that employer must make it happen, okay? They have to make it happen. They don't get to say, sorry, we don't want to do it. They don't get to say, oh, it's too difficult. They have to provide that accommodation, and it starts with that doctor's note. It's only when the accommodation request is so off kilter, it's so over the top, that the company says, well, maybe that's too far. Companies often say that it's too much before it is, when it's not. So please remember, your company should accommodate you. Get that doctor's note saying what accommodation you need. And if the company won't cooperate, if they won't provide that accommodation, let me talk to them and see if that changes.
Again, we're talking about rights you have if you're ill or injured. Finally, you cannot be fired because of your illness or your injury, right, Leon?
You cannot ever be let go because you are sick, because you have a disability or a serious medical condition. That would be a human rights violation. Your employer cannot use that as a grounds or a basis to let you go. Just like you cannot be let go because of your age or ethnicity, it's the same thing when it comes to a serious medical condition. You cannot be let go because of it. You should be given the time off. You should be given accommodation. You should be given cooperation by your employer, not be let go. So a company that does the very wrong thing of letting someone go in that situation is going to face some very significant legal consequences. So don't let the company get away with that. Let's talk. And of course, employers, please don't ever do that. If an employee needs to be off because they're sick, let them be off. Don't let them go. Please, the law is not going to have any sympathy for you as an employer in that situation.
As always, covered off nicely, sir, but we have time for another viewer phone call before we break. So let's listen up and get into that.
With my company, I've accumulated about 9-10 weeks of vacation time. If I were to get laid off or fired, number one, do I have to get paid out? And also, I'm in commission-based sales, and I have about $1 million in confirmed orders over the next year or so. How long do I get paid my commission?
Questions.
All great points. So let's start with the easy stuff, which is vacation. Yes, if you've accumulated a certain number of unpaid vacation days, you've accrued those days, you have to get those paid out, whether you leave or you're let go. That has to be paid to you over and above any other severance amount. So yes, those days have to be paid 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. I recently had a client who had tens of thousands of dollars worth of accrued vacation days. Those were paid out. Now, when it comes to commissions, if you did what you're supposed to earn that commission, if you've done your job, those deals are confirmed, you have to get paid, of course, whenever that money comes in, because you've earned that money. Let's not forget, you're also owed severance if you're let go. That could pay you as much as 24 months pay. So you have significant entitlements if you lost your job, and you don't lose your accrued vacation pay.
Let's take a short break, Leor. On the other side, we'll switch tracks a little bit, get into what the other half of the firm does, and that would be disability law. We'll do that upon a return here at Ask a Lawyer on CP24. We're coming right back.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
All right, thank you for sticking around through the break here on Ask a Lawyer. We're going to switch gears and talk about a little bit of disability law. The reach out contact information is pretty close to what it normally is. Phone number is the same, 1-855-821-5900. For email in this case, it is ask@disabilityrights.ca. So before we get into a viewer call in that regard, Leor, just break down briefly what the other half of the office does every day on the disability side, right?
So it should, in theory, be quite simple. You've paid money towards an insurance policy that provides disability benefits. You've been paying it properly every month out of your pay probably for years. Now, unfortunately, you're sick, you can't work, and you say, well, this is why I've been paying for these disability benefits all these years. Now I can actually get paid while I'm off work. Except it's not as fast, it's not as simple, because an insurance company is not going to want to often pay those benefits. They're going to find reasons to deny the claim. They're going to find reasons to cut it off before you should be cut off. They're going to find reasons to ask for information that doesn't exist or that you can't really get to them. And in all those cases, that could be the basis where an insurance company may say, yeah, no, we're not going to pay you those disability benefits. We really want to, but we're just not. Well, no, not so fast. That's why we have a whole team at the office who every single day help people that have been denied benefits when it comes to disability, been cut off benefits, where the insurance company is not cooperating or helping, or even if it's a government body like CPP or EI, when they're not paying those benefits. So if you're not getting paid your full proper amounts when you can't work, you have a disability plan, you're not getting paid, you're getting the runaround from the insurance company, let's talk. That team in my office is amazing. They deal with this every single day, and they'll make sure that you get what you're owed so that you can be at home, get better, and heal so you can get back to work.
And with that said, let's get to our viewer phone call with this topic for this week. Lior, listen up.
My insurance company wants me to go to this 8-hour in-person assessment, and it's 200 kilometers away. I'm dealing with PTSD and chronic pain, so the travel and the length of the appointment will totally flare things up. Do I have to go as scheduled, or can I ask for something more reasonable, like shorter sessions or somewhere closer without being seen as uncooperative?
Very good question. So an individual has an obligation to cooperate with the insurance company with respect to the assessments that the insurance company needs. But those requests, those demands for assessments have to be reasonable. Okay, they can't be over the top. And if the individual is in a situation where that assessment is going to be too physically demanding, they can't do it, or it's going to require massive travel and it's going to make their condition worse, it's important that they voice those concerns and even have their doctors support them in that situation. The insurance company is going to have to find another alternative. It doesn't mean that they get to tell you whatever they want you to do, and even if it's going to make your condition worse. So no, it has to be reasonable. I'll take it even a step further. If the assessment is going to require you to stay overnight and travel far and pay for a hotel, that insurance company should pay for those expenses. It shouldn't be on the individual to do that. So this is yet another reason why it's so vital, so important. If you're dealing with an insurance company that's making all kinds of demands and you know that in the background, they're just trying to find a way to cut you off or deny you benefits, let's talk about it. Let us help you and guide you through those issues so that you know what to do, you know what to say, and you don't end up without benefits.
Want to move on to our email question this regard for this week, Lior. Again, ask@disabilityrights.ca. It goes like this. Who handles the process when you appeal the insurance company's decision to deny your long-term disability? The government or the insurer?
So when you're denied benefits, the insurance company is going to say, oh, by the way, if you really want to, you can appeal this decision. And it's easy to think, well, if I'm appealing it, it must go to some neutral adjudicator, maybe a government body that's going to decide who's right and who's wrong. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The insurance company that's already denied you benefits is the one that's deciding whether your appeal is going to be successful. What a waste of time. They're not going to change their mind. They've already made up their mind. So your appeal is not going to change that. It's a waste of time. It's just a way to tell you that, well, there's something that you can do when it's really not effective. So those appeals are not worth your time. They're not going to change the result. What you need to do is engage the legal process to force the insurance company to do the right thing, not to ask them nicely to do it when they've already said they're not. If you're cut off benefits, don't waste your time with that appeal. Let us deal with the insurance company, engage that legal process so that at that point, the insurance company is going to know, hey, we've tried, we failed, now we have to pay the individual.
All right, Lior, we're going to jump back over to the employment side after a short break and wrap up with a phone call this week. We will do that after we come back right here on Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
All right, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer. A couple minutes to go here. Let me just give you the contact details one more time before we wrap for the evening. The phone number is 1-855-821-5900. Ask@EmploymentLawyer.ca to reach out to Lior and his team anytime, as you should. And as I promised off the end of the break, we're going to get to one more viewer phone call here, Lior. So let's get into that and see if we can answer it.
I've got a situation with my employer. Been with the company doing the same thing for 29 years, and a group bought our company and have of recent decided that they think they need to cut my income. And I've said to them, you know, I play ball with them to a certain extent. I get a salary and commission, and they want to cut out the salary completely, but not increase the commission, but trying to cut benefits as well. So I'm trying to figure out what to do about it.
I'm not liking the sound of that at all.
No, nor should anyone like the sound of that. And in terms of what to do, there's really only two options here. Is you can accept what they're doing and hope for the best, or you may be able to say, wait, no, that's a constructive dismissal. If you're going to force this on me, if you're going to take away my salary and just give me commissions, if you're going to take away my benefits, that's a significant change to terms of employment. Not allowed to do that. That's a constructive dismissal. Frankly, John, anytime an employer kind of changes the structure of compensation, that is a constructive dismissal. If you used to be commission and now they took the commission and put salary or vice versa, that's not going to be allowed. So this person is allowed to say, that's a constructive dismissal. I'm owed my full severance. The last thing in that situation, if you chose to do that, of course, is to figure out, well, how much severance he's owed. For that, we're going to go one more time to the severance calculator. You'll find that at PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. Let's use that right now and see what he is owed. So he's in a sales role, 62 years of age, been there a very long time, 29 years. The severance owed to him, if he's constructively dismissed, if the company decides to change his compensation structure, is 24 months of severance, 24 months pay. Not allowed to do that, company. Can't just take away someone's compensation or change it unilaterally. Constructive dismissal. If that happens to you, check out PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca or call me.
Yeah, I thought the being a base commission would make that a little bit trickier, but it doesn't appear to be. Seems fine.
Absolutely. If you have base plus commission and one of those goes away, that's a significant change. Constructive dismissal, that's a big deal for anyone that has that happen to them. Not something an employer is allowed to do. Again, severance is going to be owed.
And we are done. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining this week as well. Reach out to Lior anytime, 1-855-821-5900, askAnEmploymentLawyer.ca. And you know that website, you can use it, one stop, PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. Any other contact, cp24.com/askalawyer. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.